Thanksgiving feels like a timeless American tradition, passed down perfectly from the pilgrims. That's a comforting lie. The holiday you actually celebrate is more like a Frankenstein's monster, stitched together from desperate political strategies, brilliant corporate marketing, and a few bizarre accidents we decided to call tradition. We're about to show you all the weird parts that make up the whole. Here are 49 surprising facts that reveal the strange truth behind the turkey. 1. That charming little story about Thanksgiving being a continuous, unbroken tradition since the Pilgrims? Let's file that under things we tell tourists. The truth is, for almost 250 years, Thanksgiving was a sporadic, unofficial affair. It wasn't until 1863, with the country literally tearing itself apart in the Civil War, that Abraham Lincoln decided to make it a national holiday. It was a masterclass in political PR, a desperate attempt to say, "Hey, can we all just calm down and eat a bird for one day?" He hoped a national day of gratitude would foster unity. It's the 19th century equivalent of a company scheduling a mandatory fun day to boost morale while the building is on fire. 2. Every year, otherwise competent adults are reduced to quivering masses of anxiety by the threat of a dry turkey, the cardinal sin of Thanksgiving. But what if I told you the solution lies in a technique that looks utterly insane? Top chefs and culinary rebels have long preached the gospel of roasting the turkey upside down, breast side down. It looks like the bird is passed out drunk in the pan before the party even started. But this is where the magic happens. Gravity pulls all the fat and juices from the richer dark meat down into the breast, self-basting it to perfection. It's an act of faith that pays off with meat so moist and tender, it will make you question every tradition your grandmother ever taught you. 3. There is no whiplash quite as severe as the one America experiences between Thursday evening and Friday morning. We go from "I'm so thankful for what I have" to "I will trample a senior citizen for a discounted toaster" in the span of a few hours. This glorious, full-contact sport known as Black Friday is Thanksgiving's chaotic offspring. In the 1950s, employers noticed a suspicious pattern of people calling in sick the day after the holiday. Retailers, smelling opportunity, didn't fight it. They weaponized it. They unleashed massive sales, transforming a day of collective hangovers into a national stampede of consumerism. It's the most brutally honest holiday transition imaginable. 4. Before Thanksgiving became a high-pressure performance piece, meticulously planned with spreadsheets and color-coded oven schedules, it was pure culinary anarchy. The original concept was basically a potluck, but without any of the planning. Guests just showed up with something. Imagine the scene. One person brings venison, another brings a pot of boiled eels, someone else brings a questionable gelatin mold, and 7 different people bring corn. It was less of a curated meal and more of a bizarre food lottery. There's a certain freedom in that, though. A beautiful, chaotic alternative to today's pressure to produce a meal worthy of a magazine cover. 5. Just when you think you've seen every possible iteration of stuffing, New Orleans saunters into the room, pours itself a drink, and sets your culinary world on fire. Down in the Crescent City, a Thanksgiving table isn't complete without oyster stuffing. Let that sink in. They take briny, glorious Gulf oysters and mix them into their bread dressing. To half the country, this sounds like a declaration of war against tradition. But in New Orleans, it's just another Tuesday. It's a powerful, delicious reminder that there is no single, correct way to do Thanksgiving, and that putting seafood in your bird is the ultimate power move against blandness. 6. Let us now praise the humble dinner roll, the true MVP of the Thanksgiving meal. It's not just a side dish, it's a tool, a gravy delivery system, an edible mop for cleaning your plate. Americans understand its importance, which is why we consume over 40 million of them on this one day. Among the pantheon of rolls, the sweet, fluffy Hawaiian roll has become a modern icon. Its inclusion makes no logical sense. Its sugary profile clashes with the savory herbs and spices of everything else on the table. It's the pineapple on pizza of the bread world. Controversial, slightly weird, but secretly beloved by millions. 7. As Americans, we like to think we have a monopoly on turkey-centric holidays in the fall. But it turns out our Thanksgiving is just the headliner at a global festival of gratitude. Our neighbors to the north in Canada celebrate their own Thanksgiving, but they do it in October, like a bunch of holiday hipsters who were into it before it got mainstream. Even Liberia, founded by freed American slaves, celebrates on the first Thursday of November. It seems the core concept of eating way too much food as a thank you note to the universe is a pretty popular idea. We just added the giant inflatable cartoon characters and the televised football. 8. We pat ourselves on the back for surviving a 6-hour Thanksgiving gathering with our relatives. That's adorable. The very first Thanksgiving between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag tribe wasn't an afternoon affair. It was a 3-day bender of feasting and games. Imagine the sheer endurance required. By the end of day 1, you've exhausted all polite conversation. By day 2, you're communicating in grunts and pointing. By day 3, the tryptophan has likely achieved sentience and is running for local office. It wasn't just a meal. It was a festival of social and digestive fortitude that makes our modern food coma look like a brief nap. 9. You've probably heard John Madden's iconic boom during a football game, but the man's true legacy might be culinary. He was the unofficial high priest of the turducken, the Frankenstein's monster of poultry that involves stuffing a chicken inside a duck, which is then stuffed inside a turkey. After discovering this Louisiana creation, Madden became its most vocal champion, even awarding one to the MVP of the Thanksgiving game. He single-handedly dragged this glorious, artery-clogging monstrosity from regional obscurity into the national spotlight, proving his passion for excessive, over-the-top collisions extended far beyond the football field. 10. We all worry about getting a turkey that's big enough, but there's a point where big enough crosses over into a threat to public safety. Case in point, the largest Thanksgiving turkey ever recorded tipped the scales at a staggering 86 pounds. That's not a bird. That's a feathered minivan. It weighs more than the average 10-year-old child. Forget a standard oven. You'd need an industrial kiln and a team of engineers to cook that thing. Carving it would require a chainsaw. Imagine the leftovers. You'd be eating turkey sandwiches until the 4th of July. It's less of a meal and more of a long-term commitment. 11. Picture the first Thanksgiving. You're probably imagining the Pilgrims sitting politely, with starched collars and impeccable table manners. Now, erase the forks from that image, because they didn't have any. The fork was still a bizarre European novelty, and wouldn't become common in America until the 18th century. So, that first feast was a much more hands-on affair. They were armed with knives for stabbing and spoons for scooping, but for everything else they used the original 5-pronged utensil, their hands. It shatters that prim and proper image, revealing a scene that was probably a lot more medieval and, frankly, a lot more fun. 12. Each autumn, a new season begins. Not fall, but pumpkin spice season. It's an unstoppable cultural phenomenon that has long escaped the confines of the humble pumpkin pie. What started as a simple blend of cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger has become a flavor that infects every conceivable product on the market. Lattes, of course. But also cereal, yogurt, beer, dog treats, and even, I kid you not, pumpkin spice-scented Spam. It has become the official scent and flavor of saying goodbye to summer. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see pumpkin spice motor oil. The takeover is nearly complete. 13. For some, the thought of brining a turkey, peeling a mountain of potatoes, and arguing with relatives over oven space is a vision of pure hell. So, a growing number of rebels have decided to opt out. They are the Thanksgiving conscientious objectors, and their protest involves a simple, beautiful act of defiance: ordering takeout. Instead of a turkey, a pizza box becomes the centerpiece. Instead of lumpy gravy, you get little packets of duck sauce with your Chinese food. It's a low-stress, no-cleanup approach to a holiday that has become synonymous with exhaustion. They are truly giving thanks for delivery drivers. 14. Sometime in the last couple of decades, a new tradition emerged as a glorious buffer against family drama. It's called Friendsgiving. This is Thanksgiving without the obligations, the weird political rants from your uncle, or the judgment from your grandmother about your life choices. It's a gathering of your chosen family, usually held the week before or after the official holiday. The rules are simple. There are no rules. You want to put jalapenos in the mashed potatoes or make a bacon-wrapped turkey? Go for it. It's a low-stakes, high-fun version of the holiday, fueled by cheap wine and genuine affection. 15. Amidst all the gluttony and the impending Black Friday chaos, there's a surprisingly wholesome trend. Thanksgiving is one of the busiest times of the year for pet adoptions. It seems that as people sit around reflecting on everything they're grateful for, a warm home, a loving family, many decide the one thing missing is a furry creature to share it all with. So they head to the local shelter to add a new member to the family. It's a beautiful impulse, though one has to feel for the newly adopted dog or cat, who has no idea it's about to be introduced to 15 loud relatives at once. 16. Every so often, the cosmic calendar does something truly bizarre. In 2013, we witnessed one of the rarest holiday convergences in human history, Thanksgiving. This was a once-in-a-lifetime event when Thanksgiving and the first day of Hanukkah landed on the exact same day. The result was a glorious cultural mashup, with people creating hybrid foods like sweet potato latkes and turkey-shaped menorahs. If you missed it, well, you're out of luck. According to astronomers and mathematicians, the next time this alignment will happen is in approximately 77,000 years. So, you might want to tell your distant, unrecognizable descendants to mark their calendars. 17. The annual Thanksgiving debate over white meat versus dark meat isn't just a matter of taste, it's a matter of poultry science. The reason there's a difference is all down to the turkey's lifestyle. Your average turkey is basically a bodybuilder from the waist down and a couch potato from the waist up. They spend their days walking and running, which works their leg and thigh muscles. This requires more oxygen, which is stored in a protein that gives the meat its darker color. Their wings, on the other hand, are mostly for show and get very little use, resulting in the paler white meat. So when your family argues, you can now calmly explain the principles of avian myoglobin. 18. If you could travel back to the first Thanksgiving, you'd probably be pretty disappointed by the menu. The guest of honor, the magnificent roasted turkey, was likely a no-show. Historians believe the feast was much more reliant on what was readily available. We're talking venison from the forest, and since they were on the coast, a ton of seafood. That's right, the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag were probably feasting on lobster, clams, mussels, and fish. Can you imagine the chaos today if you replace the turkey with a giant boiled lobster as the centerpiece? It would be a culinary revolution, and honestly, a lot messier. 19. After the plates are cleared and the tryptophan kicks in, a second, equally important Thanksgiving ritual begins. Collapsing on the couch to watch TV. This is no accident. For decades, television networks have treated Thanksgiving as a major event, airing themed episodes of their most popular shows. It's a sacred formula. Someone inevitably ruins the turkey, a long-lost relative shows up unannounced, deep-seated family resentments bubble to the surface, and it all gets resolved with a heartwarming speech in the final 3 minutes. Watching these fictional family disasters makes us all feel a little bit better about our own. 20. After a few hours trapped in a house with your extended family, a strange primal urge takes over. Suddenly, that dusty box of Monopoly looks less like a board game and more like a battlefield. Thanksgiving provides the perfect storm for this phenomenon. A captive audience, a full stomach, and a deep-seated need to prove you're still the smartest one in the family. Let's be honest, it's never just a friendly game. It's a slow-burning, passive-aggressive war where old rivalries are reignited and alliances are forged over a roll of the dice. The prize isn't fake money. It's a full year of bragging rights. 21. You may not know it, but your Thanksgiving cranberry sauce is overseen by a shadowy cabal known as the Cranberry Marketing Committee. Yes, that's a real organization. They are the unseen puppet masters of the bog, ensuring that every American home has access to that sweet, tart goodness. And their work pays off. According to their own intelligence, a full 20% of all cranberries consumed in the entire year are eaten during the Thanksgiving week alone. That's a stunningly successful marketing campaign for a berry that, let's face it, most of us completely forget exists for the other 11 months of the year. 22. It seems some town founders in America were really into Thanksgiving. So much so, they decided to name their entire community after the main course. If you're ever on a holiday-themed road trip, you can make a pilgrimage to Turkey, Texas, Turkey Creek, Louisiana, or the slightly less elegant Turkey City, Pennsylvania. One has to wonder what life is like in these places. Is the high school mascot a fighting gobbler? Does the mayor pardon a local resident every November? The commitment to the theme is both admirable and a little concerning. 23. If someone tells you it's time to talk turkey, they're not inviting you to a conversation about poultry. The phrase means to get down to business, to speak frankly and directly. But why the turkey? The origin is a bit murky, but the general idea is that it represents a straightforward, no-nonsense subject. This is deeply ironic, considering actual turkeys communicate in a series of confused gobbles and seem to have very little grasp on any situation. It's a classic case of a phrase making perfect sense, as long as you don't think about the animal it's named after for more than 2 seconds. 24. Let's talk about the most divisive item on the Thanksgiving table, the canned cranberry sauce. Every year, Americans purchase over 5 million gallons of this stuff. It emerges from its can with a satisfying schlorp, a perfect gelatinous cylinder still bearing the ridges of its metallic womb. It's less a sauce and more of a wobbly, edible monument. There is no middle ground here. You either view this unnaturally smooth, can-shaped log as a sacred tradition, or you view it as an abomination that should be banished from the table. Its continued existence is a testament to the power of nostalgia over logic. 25. A word of warning. What you call the bready mixture you cook for Thanksgiving can be a source of serious regional conflict. If you're north of the Mason-Dixon line, it's stuffing, and it's probably cooked inside the bird. But in the South, it's dressing. It's almost certainly made with cornbread, and it's usually baked separately in a casserole dish. Calling it by the wrong name in the wrong house is a culinary faux pas of the highest order. It's one of those unspoken rules, a quiet battle in a long-running cultural war fought with carbs instead of cannons. 26. Here's a fact that illustrates the profound difference between a life of freedom and a life of pampered domestication. A wild turkey, in its natural habitat, is a majestic and athletic creature, capable of flying in short bursts at speeds up to 55 miles per hour. Your Thanksgiving turkey, on the other hand, has been bred to be so large and top-heavy that its feet barely touch the ground when it tries to run. Its chances of achieving flight are zero. It's the tragic story of two cousins. One is a fighter jet, and the other has become a living, breathing beanbag chair destined for your oven. 27. The wholesome story of pilgrims and Native Americans sitting down together in perfect harmony is a powerful image. It's also largely a 19th century invention. The narrative was heavily promoted by writers and magazine editors like Sarah Josepha Hale, the same woman who pushed for Thanksgiving to be a national holiday. In a time of national division, she crafted a simple, romanticized origin story to promote unity and a shared American identity. It was less about historical accuracy and more about creating a comforting national myth that everyone could rally around. It was brilliant marketing, really. 28. In 1953, an executive at the Swanson Food Company had a major problem. 260 tons of leftover Thanksgiving turkey sitting in 10 refrigerated railroad cars with no buyers. A salesman, inspired by the pre-portioned meals served on airplanes, had a stroke of genius. He suggested packaging the turkey with sides in an aluminum tray. The result was the world's first TV dinner, and it was an instant sensation. So, the next time you see that iconic compartmentalized meal, remember that it exists because of a massive holiday miscalculation. It's the greatest success story ever born from having way too many leftovers. 29. The presidential turkey pardon is one of the weirdest traditions in American politics. A leader with the power to command armies and sign laws takes time to stand in the Rose Garden and grant a full pardon to a bird. The absurdity peaked in 2015 when President Barack Obama pardoned not one but two turkeys named Honest and Abe. The turkeys get more pomp and circumstance than some foreign dignitaries, complete with a photo op and a comfortable retirement at a farm. It's a surreal piece of political theater that reminds us that even at the highest levels of power, there's always room for absolute nonsense. 30. Here's a bit of botanical trivia to ruin your dessert. That pumpkin pie you love so much is, technically speaking, squash pie. Pumpkins aren't a distinct category of their own. They are simply a type of winter squash. The early colonists knew this, and their version of pumpkin pie was far more rustic. They would cut the top off a pumpkin, scoop out the seeds, and fill the hollowed-out gourd with milk, spices, and honey before baking the whole thing in hot ashes. It was less a pie and more of a sweet baked squash vessel. It certainly makes our modern crust-based version look incredibly sophisticated. 31. Most presidents receive respectable gifts: fine art, historical artifacts, perhaps a nice bottle of wine. President Calvin Coolidge, however, once received a live raccoon for his Thanksgiving dinner. It was sent from Mississippi with the clear intention of being eaten. But Coolidge, a notorious animal lover, took one look at the raccoon and decided against it. Instead of becoming the main course, the raccoon was adopted into the first family, named Rebecca, and went on to live a life of luxury in the White House, complete with her own custom-made collar. A truly remarkable reversal of fortune. 32. The Pilgrims arrived in the New World with a lot of ambition, but a shocking lack of practical skills, especially when it came to farming in their new environment. Their first winter was devastating. Their survival was largely thanks to the local Wampanoag tribe, who taught them how to cultivate native crops. Crucially, they showed the colonists how to grow corn, a staple food that was completely new to them. Without that vital transfer of agricultural knowledge, the Pilgrims likely would have starved long before they ever had a chance to host a harvest festival. Thanksgiving exists because the original guests had a very patient teacher. 33. The green bean casserole, that bizarre and beloved concoction of canned green beans, cream of mushroom soup, and fried onions, was not born from a cherished family recipe. It was engineered in a corporate test kitchen. In 1955, an employee at the Campbell's Soup Company named Dorcas Riley was tasked with creating a simple recipe using Campbell's products. The result was this Thanksgiving icon. Today, Americans use an estimated 40 million cans of cream of mushroom soup for the holiday, much of it going into this single dish. It's a testament to the enduring power of mid-century convenience food. 34. Long before the Pilgrims showed up and decided cranberries would make a nice sauce for their turkey, Native American tribes had already figured out that this little red berry was a superfood. They had a multitude of uses for it that went far beyond the dinner table. They used cranberries to create vibrant red dyes for clothing and blankets. They used its natural antiseptic properties for medicine, treating wounds and ailments. And they mixed crushed cranberries with dried meat and fat to create pemmican, a high-energy food that could be preserved for months. Our jellied sauce is a nice tribute, but they were the true cranberry innovators. 35. The traditional image of a family seated around a perfectly set table is starting to feel a bit outdated. A growing number of households are waving the white flag and opting for a Thanksgiving buffet. It's a strategic retreat from the war zone of a formal sit-down dinner. No more passing dishes across a crowded table or fighting for the last spoonful of mashed potatoes. You just grab a plate and fend for yourself. This trend has become so popular that hotels and restaurants now offer elaborate Thanksgiving buffets, inviting you to surrender the cooking and cleanup to professionals for a price. It's the ultimate act of giving thanks for not having to do the dishes. 36. We think of Thanksgiving as the ultimate family holiday, but for a long time it was a pretty gender-divided affair. Until the late 19th century, It was common for men to treat Thanksgiving as a day for manly pursuits, like heading out for a hunt. Meanwhile, the women were, of course, at home, engaged in the equally grueling combat of preparing a feast for everyone. It was less a day of shared family togetherness and more a day of, you go shoot something for fun, and I'll spend 10 hours cooking it. It's a good reminder that our modern cozy image of the holiday is a relatively recent invention. CUSR 37. We take the fourth Thursday of November for granted, but the date of Thanksgiving has been surprisingly chaotic. For decades, the president would just declare a date each year. The real drama came in 1939, when Franklin D. Roosevelt, pressured by retailers, moved Thanksgiving a week earlier to extend the Christmas shopping season during the Great Depression. This caused a national uproar. Half the country celebrated on the new date, while the other half defiantly stuck to the old one. For 2 years, America had two Thanksgivings, mockingly nicknamed Franksgiving. Congress finally had to step in and officially fix the date in 1941. 38. The presidential turkey pardon is already a bizarre tradition, but in 2005, it reached a new level of surrealism. After being spared from the dinner table by President George W. Bush, a turkey named Marshmallow didn't just retire to a quiet farm. No, Marshmallow went to Disneyland. He served as the Grand Marshal in the park's Thanksgiving Day parade, riding on a float and basking in the adoration of the crowd. This bird went from death row to celebrity status in a single day. It is perhaps the most American story ever told, achieving fame and a trip to a theme park for the simple act of not being eaten. 39. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day. Parade is famous for its giant character balloons, but you probably underestimate the sheer manpower required to stop Snoopy from starting an international incident. Each one of those massive inflatables requires a ground crew of about 90 handlers. 90. That's not a team. That's a small army assigned to wrestle with a giant, helium-filled cartoon character. Their one job is to prevent a gust of wind from sending a 50-foot-tall Pikachu careening into a skyscraper. It's a high-stakes battle of man versus inflatable, and it's the most stressful job in America for 3 hours straight. 40. If you've ever wanted to experience Thanksgiving with a side of historical accuracy and none of the modern conveniences, you can. At the Plymouth Plantation in Massachusetts, you can visit a living history museum where the first Thanksgiving is perpetually reenacted. It's essentially America's original cosplay event. Actors dressed in full 17th century attire go about their day, cooking period-accurate meals over open fires and speaking in old-timey dialects. It's a fascinating glimpse into the past, and a powerful reminder to be thankful for modern plumbing and ovens that don't involve burning wood. 41. Every year, we flock to the grocery store to buy a turkey, and the prices always seem suspiciously reasonable. That's because they are. The Thanksgiving turkey is what's known in the retail world as a loss leader. This means many grocery stores intentionally sell the birds at a loss, or for a very slim profit. The turkey isn't the prize, it's the bait. They know that once you're in the door for your cheap turkey, you're also going to buy the cranberries, the potatoes, the wine, and the ridiculously overpriced pie crusts. It's a brilliant, cynical marketing strategy disguised as holiday generosity. 42. Since 1981, a group of unsung heroes has been saving Thanksgiving dinners one phone call at a time. I'm talking about the Butterball Turkey Talk Line. Every November, dozens of professionally trained turkey experts field over 100,000 calls from people in a full-blown panic. They answer questions ranging from, "How do I thaw this frozen boulder?" to, "My turkey is on fire. What do I do?" It is a national hotline for culinary desperation, a beautiful and hilarious testament to the fact that millions of us have absolutely no idea what we're doing, but are too proud to admit it to anyone but a complete stranger from Butterball. 43. We all know about Black Friday, the day of rampant consumerism. But plumbers have a special name for the day after Thanksgiving: Brown Friday. It is, by a wide margin, the busiest day of the year for their profession. Think about it. Household plumbing systems that are used to a quiet life are suddenly assaulted by a massive influx of guests, along with gallons of grease, gravy, and mountains of food scraps being forced down the drain. It is the national day of reckoning for our pipes. While you're out fighting for deals, they're fighting a very different and much less pleasant battle. 44. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is the definitive kickoff to the holiday season for millions. But here's the twist. It didn't start as a Thanksgiving parade at all. When Macy's launched the event in 1924, it was explicitly a Christmas parade, designed to build excitement for the arrival of Santa Claus at their flagship store. Many of the original participants were immigrant employees who wanted to celebrate their new American home with a European-style festival. It only became inextricably linked with Thanksgiving over time, proving that even our most cherished traditions can have a surprising identity crisis. 45. If you've ever tried to travel the day before Thanksgiving, you know it's not just a busy day, it's a nationwide exercise in shared suffering. It is consistently the single busiest travel day of the entire year in the United States. Airports become a sea of stressed-out humanity, and highways turn into parking lots stretching for miles. It's the Great American Migration, a chaotic pilgrimage fueled by a sense of obligation and the promise of a home-cooked meal. You spend 8 hours in traffic or a packed airport just to spend the next day with relatives you try to avoid the other 364 days of the year. 46. While Americans are focused on turkey and football, other cultures celebrate the harvest season in their own unique ways. In Japan, for instance, November 23rd is a national holiday called Kinro Kansha no Hai, or Labor Thanksgiving Day. But instead of giving thanks for a bountiful harvest, the day is dedicated to celebrating labor and production and giving thanks to one another. So while we're celebrating the end result of work, the food, they're honoring the concept of work itself. It's a slightly more industrious and less gluttonous approach to the whole thanks thing. 47. Here's a geographical fun fact that sounds like the beginning of a bad joke. In the country of Turkey, they don't celebrate the American version of Thanksgiving. More importantly, when they have their own harvest celebrations, the centerpiece of the meal is not in fact a turkey. That would be too on the nose. Instead, a celebratory meal in Turkey is far more likely to feature dishes like lamb kebabs or other local delicacies. The bird we named after their country holds no special significance for them. It's one of the greatest missed branding opportunities in history. 48. One of the most critical survival skills Native Americans taught the early colonists had nothing to do with planting crops. It was the art of making jerky. In a time before refrigeration, preserving meat was a matter of life and death. They showed the settlers how to dry thin strips of venison, buffalo, or fish over a slow fire, or in the sun, creating a lightweight, protein-packed food that would last through the brutal winters. What we now consider a convenient gas station snack was once a revolutionary food technology, and it was essential for the survival of those early European settlements. 49. If you want to get really technical about it, the American Thanksgiving wasn't even the first of its kind. The entire concept was essentially an import. Harvest festivals, where communities gathered to give thanks for the season's crops, had been a long-standing tradition in England for centuries. These British festivals involved feasting, church services, and community gatherings, a blueprint that looks remarkably similar to what the Pilgrims would later establish. So, our quintessential American holiday wasn't forged in the New World wilderness. It was more like a popular British tradition that got a fantastic American rebranding. And there they are, 49 truths that prove this holiday is much stranger than a simple turkey dinner. But we know the list isn't complete. Every family has that one bizarre tradition, that secret ingredient, or that unspoken rule that defines their Thanksgiving. What's yours? Give us fact number 50 in the comments below. If we've earned your gratitude, a tap on that subscribe button is the only thanks we need.